right, pop down in a second. Give him some space.
That was honestly the coolest thing I've ever felt in my life.
And on today's episode of I Can't Believe They Let Me Do This, we're taking the LC500 convertible up to my home track of Road America for IMSA Sports Car Weekend, and we're spending the weekend behind the scenes with the VASSER Sullivan Lexus racing team. This is going to be an absolute blast. We've got our credential, we're good to go in. I think we go in with the top down. What do you think? Yes, boys. I never feel more at home than when I'm surrounded by LC500s. All right, we're all parked up. We're gonna check in over at the Lexus Racing Hospitality. But there's race cars on track and they sound good and I wanna watch that. All right, we're here at free practice Saturday morning at IMSA Sports Car Weekend at Road America. The boys are back out. There was an LMP2 crash, but down here at Turn 5, one of the most exciting corners in racing. Check one, check two, cut it. Welcome everybody, we're here with the VASSER Sullivan and Lexus racing team, and I've got
Jack Hawksworth,
Parker Thompson.
And we're gonna ask him a couple questions about what it's like to be a racing driver here at VASSER Sullivan. I wanna start with what your experience has been like and what your history has been with the team.
So I've been here from the very start. The team was formed 2019 and I've been with the program ever since then. And yeah, we've rode the whole highs and lows together. We've obviously we've had some great successes: the 2023 GTD Pro Championship, Sebring 12 Hours, Petit Le Mans, many other races, and yeah, it's been an awesome ride.
Excellent. Parker?
I'm the newest guy on the team, so there's a pretty short list. I've been here for 3 years. I've won the Grand Prix of Long Beach, and I've won the 6 Hours of Watkins Glen, so I'll keep it short for you.
That's nothing to sniff at. That's pretty good stuff. And my understanding is you guys are currently P2 in the championship right now. Is that correct?
That's right, P2 in the championship and sniffing P1.
Good. Well, excellent. I like hearing the history of you guys within the team. I want to talk a little bit about your history as just racing drivers in general. Who inspired you when you were kids? How did you get your start in racing, and how did you end up here?
Well, I think for me personally, in terms of how did I kind of get into racing? My dad was always into bikes, and he raced a little bit of two-wheel stuff, a little bit of off-road, on-road, things like that. So I was always kind of exposed to it. And then from there, I had like a little dirt bike when I was a kid, and I ended up racing go-karts when I was like 11, 12 years old. My dad kind of supported me with it all, and just went from there really. And that's kind of how it all started. Always had an interest in it, and I think just coming from a family who were kind of into racing. So and then I moved to after I finished racing karts, I moved to the US 2012, racing the Star Mazda series with the open wheel ladder. Made my way up through the various junior series, racing IndyCar for a few years, and then joined Lexus in IMSA in 2017.
Beautiful. Parker, let's hear about you.
You can honestly pretty much cut, copy, and paste a lot of that over. So, I mean, my dad grew up racing bikes and racing boats, so everything but four wheels. When I was growing up, I wanted to race, and he got me into bikes, but quickly mom said no on that. So we got into go-karts, basically same way up that Jack did. I'm sure Andy, his dad, and Doug, my dad, would get along pretty good, but they've yet to meet each other. And then moving into cars, I did USF 2000 and Pro Mazda, which is what that series was, Star Mazda. So same series, just a little bit of an age gap. And then moved to sports cars, won Carrera Cup, and begged these guys for a job and finally got it. So
That's
3 years
great.
ago, finally got to put on the neon black.
There you
neon
go.
Black.
You always end up in the right spot eventually. That's how life works.
For sure.
I want to zoom in on a little bit about the race weekends. You guys obviously do a lot of racing, and it takes up a lot of your time on the weekends. Do you have any sort of like rituals that you start your day with on a race weekend, whether it's qualifying day on Saturday or the actual race day on Sunday?
I wouldn't say I have any particular rituals. Obviously, a weekend kind of is broken into two practice sessions, usually a qualifying and a race. So as a team, we kind of have a plan going into the weekend of what we're going to work on, how we're going to approach it, kind of a general strategy for the weekend. But for me, really, I try to get a good sleep the night before, and then make sure. I mean, the biggest thing for us is how hot these cars are. We end up sweating a lot, so staying on top of our hydration and stuff. And yep, no real.
So no like special food or funky music or any weird yoga that you do in the trailer?
Weird yoga. I mean, Parker might be able to answer that one.
Parker's not sure about that one.
I saw him with the foam roller earlier. I've never seen that yoga move before. So.
All right, Parker, do you have any sort of rituals on race day or qualifying day or any time throughout the weekend?
I mean, he pretty much covered all the boring stuff that is what we do as racing
Well,
drivers.
we're here for the weird stuff anyway.
I would say a good race weekend always starts out with kicking his butt in pickleball or tennis or whatever he challenges me to. And then once I've accomplished that, I usually show up to the track with the confidence that I need to drive this Lexus RCF. So.
All right, beautiful. All right, well, I think one of the last things that I want to ask is just when you were growing up, did you have any racing drivers that you look up to, and are they still a hero of yours now?
Well, my favourite racing driver growing up was Michael Schumacher. He was, the driving the Ferrari in Formula One and winning everything, and so he was my kind of the guy who would have been my favourite driver back growing up. And then I can't really think of anybody else. He was the one who stood out as a kid, and then as you grow up, you kind of you just learn to you kind of respect and admire different drivers, right? And even motorbike riders and things like that.
Probably a little too young for Senna, so Schumacher was the right era.
So I would have been 3 when Senna. If you asked my dad that question, he probably would have said Senna was his favourite driver. Yeah. So, but yeah, he was a little bit before me. And Schumacher, I just remember waking up sometimes to watch a Grand Prix on like a Saturday if it was in Sunday when it was in Japan or something like that, and it'd be like 7 o'clock in the morning in the UK. And I remember watching Michael Schumacher.
Good. Parker?
It's tough. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I'll go with a similar answer to him. When
Schumacher?
I grew up watching Formula One, it was probably Raikkonen was my favorite guy.
It's hard not to like the Iceman.
He would say something funny before he got in the car, and then he would usually go out and win a race. But to be honest, as soon as I got to cars, you spend so much time trying to beat the guys that you're coming up against. You kind of forget about having idols, and you start focusing on a career. But when I wanted to drive here at Vassar Sullivan, and still to this day, I'd have to say Jack is probably a guy I look up to a lot. So it's nice when you share a car with a guy.
It's a beautiful moment.
Yeah, you're not.
Thank you. That's because he said he beat me at tennis earlier.
That's right. Yeah, we got to level the field.
Exactly.
Are there tracks or sessions that come to mind that are more difficult to get into a flow? Or like Road America was resurfaced a couple years ago. Was that an added challenge that you weren't anticipating? Is that hard to kind of combat?
Do you want to answer that one?
I definitely think there's harder tracks than others to get into what we call that flow, where you're in rhythm. But I think that's a lot of personal preference for a race car driver. I mean, I've got my favorite tracks, he's got his favorite tracks, and we tend to be quite biased in our performance because you tend to go pretty good at the tracks that you like driving. So I think that's probably what it comes down to, more than the tracks actually changing year to year.
Sure.
You know, every race car driver's like a snowflake with their styles too, right? Like every driver has their own style of how they want to get the speed out of the car, and that kind of caters to what the track is, whether it's a street course, whether it's a flow track like Road America where there's a lot of high-speed corners. It's all very different. So I would say that's pretty scattered across the board as to what's your favorite, but I think we both love Road America, and that's where we're racing this weekend, so it should be pretty good for this weekend.
Okay.
Just to expand a little bit more as well, like if you're talking about like a session which is hard, it's probably qualifying. Because like you think about a race, you get time to get into a rhythm and build up and kind of, you just like you would on a simulator, you get time to lay lap down after lap down after lap down. Like this afternoon when Parker goes to qualify, what's so difficult about that is that you go onto the circuit, the tyre has a small window where the car has its most grip, and the driver then has to find the limit of that grip as quickly as possible before the grip level goes away. So qualifying is probably the hardest to get the flow, if that makes sense, just because you don't get as much time to kind of get wound up, if that makes sense.
100%. So you mentioned Road America. We're here. We're P2 in the championship, racing tomorrow. What are the keys to qualifying on pole and then wrapping this thing up with a P1 tomorrow?
Well, I mean, I'll let Parker take the qualifying since he's going to be the qualifying man. What's the key for today?
The key to qualifying on pole is hitting the peak of the tire. Road America is such a long lap that it's actually tough to get the peak of the tire in one complete lap, whereas, you know, most other tracks are 2 to 3 miles. This is 4 miles. So getting that perfect lap in qualifying and getting the last 2 or 3 tenths out of it's going to be key to get our track position. And then once we have that, it's kind of up to this man. I got to get through the start, make sure I keep the war pig, as we call it, but the Lexus RCF with its wheels straight, and I hand it off to this guy at about, give or take, 45 minutes to an hour, depending on when a caution comes out.
Good.
We'll go see what we got.
Well, sounds good. Gentlemen, thank you so much for spending your time with me. I really appreciate it, and good luck tomorrow and today.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks.
Get after it, boys.
Lexus booth. Lexus car.
Happy boy! Here we go.
It's kind of crazy that Mama never lets you do like a full lap.
Yeah. Pop down into second. Give him some space.
Dude, the GS is kind of like pushing though.
I can tell, yeah.
He's kind of like pushing.
He's working it.
Yeah, he's trying.
We can take him anytime we want, but he is moving. Yikes.
Grant's at turn 7.
Sketch, dude.
On the right side by Corvette Ridge. Where's that?
Slow as through the kink, leave a gap. That GS is hustling.
Yeah.
Oh,
What the hell was that?
what the helly? Yeah, you might be right.
I don't like that jerk though.
Favorite car, favorite track. Woo! End of day one update, total whirlwind from the second that we got here. Got here, had breakfast, then free practice was going on, came down to turn 5 to watch cars on track. fantastic. Super, super fun to watch cars come down through turn 5, downhill braking zone, hard left-hander, and then up the bridge, or up the hill into under the Corvette bridge. Then met up with Paulo. He got here a little bit late, so we met up with him back at the hospitality, and then got prepped to go back up to the paddock, go to the garage, and interview Parker Thompson and Jack Hawksworth. Very, very cool. Thank you to those guys for letting me have some of their time. And also Bozzy. I don't know if he's lead mechanic, I don't know what his title is, but just absolute wizard with a wheel gun in his hand and also just a wrench in his hand. Very knowledgeable, so thank you to the entire Vassar Sullivan team and the Lexus Racing team. I had an absolute blast today. Oh, also got to drive the LC on track, which was awesome. This is the first time actually I got to drive on the front straight here at Road America. Usually when we're here for media events, it's just it's an out and in, not a full hot lap, so it was cool to do the front straight and get it up to speed. So again, huge thanks to everyone involved, and we'll be back on Sunday for day 2 and the race. With Parker Thompson and Jack Hawksworth, the drivers of our All right, we're here with the Vassar Sullivan Lexus Racing Garage with Bozzy, car
Hello.
wizard.
What's up?
And I'm kind of just going to let you go.
All right.
Tell us about the car, what's going on, how it gets
Absolutely.
prepped for race weekend.
So my name is Bozzy Tatarovich. I'm a race mechanic and tire carrier on the number 14 Sealmaster Lexus RCF GT3, and I'll tell you guys a little bit about the car. So this car looks familiar, probably if you've ever seen a production RCF, because it comes off the same production line. So if you look here at this door opening, you can see where it looks very production. You can even see where the speaker wiring would go through on the production car. So what happens is they start off with the same body shell, and then they trim off some of the metal and build custom front and rear subframes. So on this car, we have a lot of modularity to be able to adjust on the car for racing purposes and to save some weight. So this car right now with the current rule set weighs just under 3,000 pounds.
Oh, wow.
That's I think production car is somewhere like 3,800 maybe, in that range.
And that weight kind of varies a little bit by weekend with ballast and things like
Correct,
that.
yeah. So IMSA has what's called balance of performance,
Yep.
where they adjust all these different cars to kind of get them in the same ballpark. So there's GT3 cars from a variety of brands and OEMs with a variety of engines and things like that. So we have a naturally aspirated V8. There's cars that have turbocharged V8s. There's cars with turbocharged V6s and so on. So the cool thing about the motor in this car is that it is the production V8 out of the RCF. So that's the
So it starts as a 5-liter.
correct. The 2UR GSC, but it gets a little work done. So it gets bored and stroked. So that displacement goes from 5 liters to 5.4 liters.
Okay.
So that gives us a little bit more power than the production car and gives us some variability. So of course that balance of performance puts some limits on it, but we have kind of the envelope there to be able to work within the rule set.
Sure.
So the way IMSA tracks all of that is with torque sensors. So on the rear, the drive shafts, the axles that come out of the gearbox, there are these sensors that basically detect how much torque is being produced coming out of the gearbox going to the wheels.
Okay.
And everybody has specific windows where they need to be. So it's up to us and our partners at Lexus Racing. There's a lot of very smart engineers that tweak all the computer maths and things like that to put us in that window for where everybody really wants to be. I think depending on the weekend, it's between 530 and 550 horsepower is kind of where IMSA tries to put everybody.
Okay. So the engine starts out as factory.
Correct.
It's bored and stroked.
Yep.
And then you mentioned transaxle?
Yes.
So then rear wheel drive.
That's
so
correct.
what's going on with the gearbox then? Because it's not the 8-speed that comes in the factory car.
No. So the production car has an 8-speed automatic.
Yeah.
This has a 6-speed sequential.
Sequential.
So here, what we have is a gearbox from X-Track that is pneumatically controlled. So the cool thing about this car is we have a very custom steering wheel that has a lot of buttons and controls, but on the back of it, we have the production paddles. So if you've ever driven an RCF, the paddles you feel there are the same thing that our racing drivers feel.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty neat. Here, it's directly out of the production car. Like when we swap the paddles, they come in a Lexus bag right out of the dealership, which is very neat. Yeah, so that's kind of a cool thing. And on the production car, obviously, there's an electronic control module that switches stuff in the automatic gearbox. Here, it's actually connected to an air compressor because that's a little bit faster for this type of shifting. And what it does is every time the drivers hit the paddle, there's a little burst of air that moves a mechanical shift linkage. So if you watch onboards of the car where you have a camera looking over the driver's shoulder, you may hear a hum. That is an air compressor that's constantly running to fill a little cylinder to be able to just, when you tap it, it quickly moves it. And when you sit in the car and tap the paddle, it feels like the paddle is moving, the linkage is moving before the paddle is ever fully depressed.
Wild.
Yeah. So if you look back here, you'll see on the back of the steering wheel here.
Oh yeah,
is
that's
just
the paddle.
it's just a standard, production paddle. So just what you see in the car there, and then
that is the
obviously,
factory paddle.
yeah, obviously on the front we have a lot more controls. So this is a little more adjustable than the production car. The top level there has a bunch of knobs, so things like engine mapping, gearbox mapping, traction control can all be tweaked on the car to be able to change stuff depending on what the drivers need. So depending on the situation, things like the engine mapping, we can change stuff to differentiate how the throttle body acts, or how much fuel is being burned, whether we want to focus a little more on power or a little more on fuel economy, because sometimes we want our pit stop gaps to be bigger.
Yeah.
So you might make a little bit less power, but you might be able to save some time because you don't have to pit as frequently.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the other big thing with talking about the throttle is, on the production car, you have a traditional intake manifold. Here, we have this big plenum, and inside are 8 individual throttle bodies with big venturis on them.
Okay.
So if you listen to this car on track, it'll sound a little bit different than the production car, and that's a big part of it. Yeah, so it's those, so you can see how tall this is. There's big venturis in there, and then outside of that, our exhausts are split. So on the production car, they go all the way to the rear of the car. Here, we have individual pipes coming to each side. So that both of those kind of contributes to the nature of the car.
Yeah.
So what you see here right now is we have some setup equipment. So
This is for an alignment?
Yep. So this is a tool built by Toyota Racing Development that has multiple features. So it allows us to measure things like camber, because all these surfaces are standardized. So once it's bolted and set on a level surface, you can put gauges there. This allows us to measure toe, and then there are load cells built into the bottom to measure weight on each corner.
Got it.
So today we had practice this morning. We got a lot of feedback from our drivers, talked to our engineers, and there's a bunch of stuff that goes back and forth. And once everybody kind of agreed on what we wanted for qualifying, we went in on the car, and that's what we've been doing for the last little while, just making tweaks. So right now we're adjusting.
And so those tweaks, are those like aero tweaks? Are they suspension, geometry tweaks?
Quite a bit of suspension, which ends up also being aero. So things like when we change ride height on the car, that changes the relative position of the splitter to the track surface.
Yes, and we saw you putting on a new floor. Is that in reaction to what we found in pre-practice this morning?
So that actually is prep for the race. So we'll try to do multiple tasks at once. And today, because we had a decent gap between practice and qualifying, we started some of our race prep early. So we almost, I would say, 3/4 of the way disassembled the car before the race. So things like the floors come off, a lot of the suspension comes apart, brakes get replaced, things like that. So we've had multiple hours of practice. So the rear floor comes off, goes back to our bodywork specialist. He goes over it, makes any, we need to replace any strakes, make any other changes. He preps that, it gets cleaned up by one of our other technicians and gets inspected to make sure everything's still flat, all the bolts are going where they need to go, anything like that. And then it goes back on the car. The same thing with the front floor. The mid floor typically doesn't come off at these shorter races, but when we do the 12 hours of Sebring or Rolex 24, then all of that comes off. And for races like the Rolex 24, we'll go as far as pulling the entire transaxle out.
Oh, wow.
So here,
how long does a job like that take? I mean, that's got to be a hefty.
It's for us, like when we do the Rolex 24, we like to take our time. So that's typically a 3-hour job of getting all the lines disconnected, all the little brackets and stuff, getting it down.
Make sure it's done right.
But typically for races like that, we'll come with new built transaxles. So the ones that are able to go out, and then we'll just get swapped with ones that are ready to go. So there's a lot of stuff that gets prepared there that we can use and put in the car. So it just depends. But there's a lot of removing things, putting them back, inspecting them. And for us, that's very important because every little detail matters. Like you'll see us, even between practice sessions, you'll see us cleaning the car, wiping things down, and stuff like that serves multiple purposes. Because first, you want the car to look good because we're here, this is a rolling billboard for our partners and for Lexus Racing and, for our whole team at VASSER Sullivan. But also, every time you touch a body panel while you're cleaning it, if there's something that looks unusual, if you clean the whole car, you're inspecting all of the bodywork. And that's kind of, the big deal here. And fortunately, all this stuff is built to be, fairly sturdy and last a while because most of the bodywork here is carbon fiber. And then for certain stuff that gets high impact, like the fender liners, it's a mixture of carbon fiber and Kevlar. So when stuff like rocks and rubber gets punted, that protects it. But you can try it out and see it's very, very light.
It's so light. This is
so-
like maybe 15 pounds.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think it's 17.8 for this one.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's that's like the hood. I think it says right there on the hood. The hood is 8 kilograms. So that's about 15 pounds right
Wow.
there. But you
That
can
is
see
wild.
even with that lightweight, there's a lot of stuff that's built in right into the hood. So the hood has ductwork not only for the radiator exits, it also has ductwork for driver cooling. So we use the factory radiator venting to send air into the car, since we have radiator venting that comes in from the bottom for this type of, here Adam, you can have this one for the engine.
Thank you, Adam.
We use that, and then in addition to that, the drivers have helmet blowers, so that blows cool air to cool down their face, and they have cool shirts, which are coiled shirts that we
It
connect
runs
to a
water,
liquid
right?
system. Yep, and we have a refrigerant box in the rear that'll, I think, when it ramps up, it's about 40 degrees for the liquid, but as they race, that kind of their
warms up.
body warms up the water,
right.
and there is a little refrigerant unit that cools it down, but the driver's temperature plus the ambient temperature raises that, especially at places like Sebring. I think at Sebring, the inside of the cabin gets around 130 degrees.
130 degrees.
And that
is outrageous.
Yeah,
and that system can fail.
Yeah. So that's
It doesn't intentionally, obviously, but like it can.
So our systems are pretty reliable, but everything is always a compromise. So the driver cool shirt system has to get air from the outside in order to keep the unit cool, but that also compromises your air.
Drag.
So sometimes you want to close stuff off, and the less air that gets inside the car, the more hot that electronics get. And so that's typically when stuff like that might not work as well, because it's always a compromise. The engineers want the car as streamlined as possible, and the drivers do too, but they're also the ones inside the car that are sweating. And we're fortunate, you talk to Jack and Parker, you can see they're pretty fit guys. We're fortunate to have the Toyota Performance Center. So down near where our shop is, there's a big athletic facility.
Yeah, that's the one in Charlotte.
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, it's
we've
in
been down
Mooresville.
there actually. It's a fantastic facility. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Amazing
So that's
facility.
and you've seen there's a GR garage on the bottom where they build GR Cup cars and all this other like fun stuff. And then upstairs is all that stuff there. So one of the corners of that is the heat room. And what they do there is they'll ramp that up to 130 or 140 degrees. And then have them do cardio there.
Yes.
So that prepares them for the stuff that they do in the car here, because that allows them to experience what they would experience in the car, kind of in a controlled environment.
Right.
So there's a lot that goes into it. We obviously try to make things inside here work as well as we can, but they still have to train for it. So they spend a lot of time in that training center, and there are weeks like when we're not at the track or athletic training simulator, and and we're fortunate that all of that's kind of in the same geographic area in North Carolina, where we have the driver in the loop simulator that simulates all of this. Plus, in addition to that, we have the athletic facilities. So right now, Travis, who's our car chief, and Adam, who's our mechanic, and Zach, who's the other mechanic, they're prepping the car. So since we had it apart and put it back together, we're going to take it over to technical inspection to make sure that everything is still within spec.
Right.
So that allows us to get a good idea of what's going on and make sure before we go into qualifying this afternoon that every little piece that we change there is where we want it to be.
Very cool. Well, Bozy, thank you for taking us around
Absolutely.
the tour of the car.
Thank you for coming
Thank
out.
you for your time. This is really, really cool.
Thanks. All right.
Thank you. right. You don't want to send any grip lift back on these tires.
Tires?
Yeah. What tires? Admittedly, I've not done the carousel at 80 before.
Hey Johnny, if you're on 11, we are making our way down to the construction house.
Oh, jeez.
Cool.
That was awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you for
so
that.
much.
Thank you for
Wow.
that. Okay, debrief.
That video's gonna hear a lot of wow, wow. That was honestly the coolest thing I've ever felt in my life.
That was wild.
Yeah, just to feel like you could feel those tires just gripping on so tight.
Yeah.
My arms started getting sore of all the right turns and holding on, so I just fling into the guy next to me.
At one point into the first corner, we had another IS 500 in front of us, and they're on the rumble strips on the inside, and I could
Yeah.
see the tire like wobbling,
Yeah.
giving
Yeah,
under pressure. That's
it
wild.
was
Wild.
phenomenal, and just like how much like trust that guy has in that car. Like you
Well,
could
and-
you could feel the trust that he had in that car, and like he knew what he was doing. Like it was just so cool.
Yes. Yeah, there was a couple times, especially down at like turn 12 and turn 13, that I was like, "Oh, we're going off the track."
Yeah, rumble,
If I
rumble,
was
rumble.
if I was behind the wheel, but like timed and spaced the rumble strips and the runoff perfectly.
It was beautiful.
That's the difference between a pro driver and someone like myself.
It was beautiful.
That was pretty cool. So thank you to Lexus. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Hot laps done. Drivers met. Tech talk missed, admittedly. But it's time for the race, so we're gonna see if we can get up on the roof of the tech center and see if we can watch the start from up there. Snoodle doodle. Home now in the LC, which is always a treat, and just doing some reflecting on the drive home on what an incredible weekend it's been. It was just go, go, go the entire time, but really, really cool to experience what it's like in the garage of a GTD team and a GTD Pro team, being able to talk to the drivers. Parker and Jack were fantastic and very generous with their time. Bazzi to get the tech talk with the car, very, very cool. Obviously being able to take the LC on track, always a dream. We'll always appreciate that. So, and then of course today, being able to watch the race and share that with Sadie, and then yesterday, share the day with Paula was just super fun, very meaningful. And it does kind of feel like a full circle moment. I mean, the channel is getting very close, at least as of today. I'm not sure when this video will go out, but at least as of today, we're getting very close to 100,000, which is a huge milestone. And I'm incredibly proud of what we've been able to achieve with the channel. And I'm incredibly grateful for all of you that follow. And it does feel like a full circle moment in the sense that Toyota gave me my first press car. They gave me a RAV4. I took it to Chicago actually for my bachelor party. And it wasn't long after that actually that they sent me an LC. They sent me a flare yellow LC coupe, and I will own a flare yellow LC coupe because it's still to this day like my favorite car. So to be able to have this experience with the Lexus racing team and the VASSER Sullivan team, and to be around, you know, that kind of team does feel like a full circle moment for me personally and the channel. So again, a huge thank you to Jen, to Pam, to Sam, to Jeff, to the entire team, all the drivers that I got a chance to talk to, all the mechanics that I got a chance to talk to. Huge thank you to everyone involved, and I can't say thanks enough, so I'll leave it here. But thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.